I used to believe I had the ideal family. A beautiful wife, a stepson who called me dad, and a baby on the way. Then one afternoon I walked in early and found my wife with her ex-husband. What I uncovered next obliterated everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the child she said was mine. My name is David Holland. I'm 42, and until 3 months ago I thought my life was sordid. I work as an anesthesiologist at Presbyterian Medical Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Solid career. Steady hands. The kind of person who keeps patients breathing while surgeons perform miracles. Victoria used to call me her rock, her safe place. Turns out a rock is just something to stand on while you reach for something else. We met 6 years ago at a medical conference in Atlanta. She had recently divorced and was trying to raise 12-year-old Jaden by herself. I fell for her laugh, the way she tucked hair behind her ear when she was nervous, and how fiercely she defended her son. Jaden took to me right away, nicknaming me Doc Dave and peppering me with questions about anesthesia. Within 2 years we were married at Magnolia Gardens. I believed we were building something lasting. Victoria worked as a nurse practitioner at a pediatric clinic. We bought a 4-bedroom colonial in Myers Park, even installed a pool for Jaden. Sunday pancake mornings became our ritual. I taught Jaden how to throw a curveball. Victoria and I would sit on the porch swing after he went to bed, dreaming up vacations and talking about finally having a baby of our own. Then last spring things started to change. Victoria began staying late at work more frequently. She joined a book club that met every Thursday. She started taking yoga classes that seemed to drag on week after week. When I asked about her day, her answers grew shorter and more distracted. She'd scroll through her phone at dinner, smiling at messages she never showed me. We found out she was pregnant in July, right before the 4th of July barbecue. Victoria pulled me aside that morning, tears in her eyes, holding up a positive test. I scooped her up and spun her around the kitchen as my heart pounded with happiness. After 3 years of trying, we were finally going to have our own child. Jaden was overjoyed at the idea of becoming a big brother. But even while we picked out cribs, something felt off. Victoria seemed withdrawn during appointments, reluctant to let me accompany her. She insisted we keep the pregnancy a secret. She wouldn't let me even tell my parents. When I reached for her hand during ultrasounds, she'd pull away, claiming she was hot or uncomfortable. 3 weeks ago, everything unraveled. I came home early from a canceled surgery and found Victoria packing a suitcase. Her face was pale and her hands trembled as she folded clothes. When I asked where she was headed, she said Richard, her ex-husband, was in town about custody arrangements for Jaden. Richard Stone, the man who walked out on Victoria and 6-year-old Jaden 5 years earlier. The guy who sent occasional child support and called maybe twice a year. I'd never met him in person, but I'd seen the damage he left behind. That night Victoria didn't come back until after midnight. She slipped into bed without waking me, or so she thought. I lay awake listening to her breathe, noticing she smelled like expensive cologne instead of her usual lavender body wash. Tuesday evening started normally. I was going over patient charts in my home office when Jaden knocked on the door. He looked uneasy, shifting from one foot to the other like he did when he had something important to say. "Doc, can we talk?" he asked, closing the door behind him. I put my papers down and gave him my full attention. "What's on your mind, buddy?" Jaden sat across from my desk, fidgeting with his phone. "It's about Mom and my dad." My chest tightened. "What about them?" I asked. He lowered his voice. "Yesterday when you were at work, Dad came by the house. Mom told me to stay in my room, but I heard them talking, actually arguing." I leaned forward. "Arguing about what?" Dad was saying something about the baby, about how Mom needed to tell you the truth, and Mom kept saying it wasn't the right time. Jaden's voice shrank. "Doc Dave, what truth? What's going on?" Before I could respond, we heard Victoria's car pull into the driveway. Jaden's eyes widened with panic. "Please don't tell her I said anything," he whispered. "She made me promise not to talk about Dad's visits." "Visits? Plural." My blood ran cold. "How many times has he been here, Jaden?" "3 times this week. Maybe more when I was at school." He jumped up as we heard the front door open. "I have to go, but Doc Dave, I'm scared. Something's really wrong." Victoria called from downstairs with a forced cheeriness. David, Jaden, I'm home. I watched Jaden hurry out of my office while my mind raced. Richard had been coming to our house regularly. Victoria had been lying about it, and there was something true about the baby she wasn't telling me. I went downstairs and found Victoria in the kitchen unpacking takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant. She looked up with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, kissing my cheek. The same expensive cologne hit me again. "Fine," I said, watching her. "How was yours?" "Oh, the usual clinic chaos. Mrs. Patterson's son had another asthma attack, 2 sick calls. I was running around all day." She pulled containers from the bag with practiced efficiency. "I thought we could have a nice dinner together. Just the 3 of us." Lies slid easily from her now. Smooth, specific, believable. "Victoria," I said calmly, "we need to talk." She froze for a beat, her hand suspended halfway to the cabinet. "About what?" she asked. "About Richard. About why he's been coming to our house." A container of pad thai slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the counter. Sauce splattered across the granite like drops of blood. For the first time in weeks her mask fell away. "I can explain," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Then explain," I replied, stepping closer. In her eyes I saw something I'd never seen before, fear, not of me, but of being found out. "This time tell me the truth." Victoria's hands trembled as she reached for a paper towel to wipe the spill. When she looked up, the woman staring back at me seemed like a stranger wearing my wife's face. "David, please, just give me time to figure out how to say this," she begged. "How long does it take to tell the truth, Victoria?" I asked. I knew whatever she was about to reveal would alter everything. She stood there for what felt like forever, the paper towel slack in her hands, the pad thai sauce starting to congeal on the counter. "Richard and I have been talking more often," she finally said, "about Jaden's future. College planning." I kept my tone even. "Victoria, Jaden told me everything, so let's skip the rehearsed explanations." Her face drained of color. "You talked to Jaden?" she snapped. "David, he's just a kid. He doesn't understand grown-up situations. He understands enough to sense when his mother is lying." I shot back, folding my arms. "He's scared for you. Whatever game you're playing with Richard, it's hurting him." Victoria straightened, shoulders rigid. "Fine. Yes, Richard has been coming by. He says he wants to be more involved after 5 years of hardly calling." "What changed?" I demanded. "He's doing well financially now. He wants to help with Jaden's expenses, maybe have longer visits." She hesitated. "And you couldn't talk to me because you get jealous whenever Richard's name comes up." The words tumbled out of her. "You act like you're Jaden's real father, but you're not, David. Richard is." The accusation landed like a punch. "You're right, I'm not Jaden's biological dad," I said, "but I've been the one raising him while Richard went off to do business in Miami." Before Victoria could respond, Jaden appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face pale. "Mom," he said quietly, "are you and Dad getting back together?" Victoria's facade cracked completely. "Jaden, sweetie, it's complicated," she tried. "No, it's not," Jaden said, voice firmer than I'd ever heard. "Either you love Doc Dave or you don't. Either we're a family or we're not." I crouched down to meet him. "Jaden, whatever happens between your mom and me, nothing will change how I feel about you. You're my son in every way that matters." He threw his arms around my neck. "I don't want Dad to come back. I want things to stay the way they are." Over his shoulder I watched Victoria's face twist with guilt and anger. After Jaden went upstairs, Victoria turned to me, desperation in her eyes. "David, Richard is offering things I can't give Jaden. Private school, college tuition opportunities." "What's he offering you, Victoria?" I asked. Her question hung there like smoke. "What's he offering you?" "Security," she said. "Finally. He's changed, David. He's successful now. Stable. He wants to provide for Jaden properly, and for the baby." I pointed at her belly. "Where does our child fit in Richard's grand plan?" For a moment something flickered across her face. Panic, maybe guilt. "The baby will always be your priority, of course," she said. "Always be my priority, not our priority. Mine alone." Victoria, are you planning to leave me? I asked. She began to shake her head, then stopped. I don't know anymore, she admitted. Richard says he can give us a better life. He's bought a house in Raleigh near good schools. What about what Jaden wants? I reminded her. You heard him. He doesn't want Richard back full-time. Jaden's 12, she said. He doesn't understand what's best for his future. Richard can pay for Duke or UNC, set him up for success. Those words hit like arrows. All the old insecurities, not being rich enough, working too much, flooded back. But then I thought about the look on Jaden's face when I taught him to throw that curveball. How he began signing his school papers as Jaden Holland, even before it was legal. You know what I can offer him? I said in a voice that was dangerously calm. A father who shows up. A father who doesn't abandon him for 5 years, and then waltz back when it's convenient. Victoria flinched. That's not fair, she said. None of this is fair, Victoria. But you made it unfair when you decided to negotiate our family's future behind my back. I walked to the kitchen window and stared out at the backyard where Jaden's basketball hoop stood. There's something else, isn't there? I turned back to her. This isn't just about money. What aren't you telling me? Her hands instinctively moved to her stomach. David, please. Can't we just take this one step at a time? No. I'm done taking things one step at a time while you orchestrate my life falling apart, I said, stepping closer. What is Richard really offering you, Victoria? Tears filled her eyes, but instead of answering, she whispered, I think I should stay at my sister's tonight. Give us both some space to think. Run away to think or run away to meet Richard. Fine, I said slowly. Pack a bag. But understand this. When you walk out that door tonight, you're making a choice. Choices have consequences. After she left, I went upstairs to check on Jaden. He was on his bed pretending to do homework. Where's Mom? He asked. She's going to stay at Aunt Sarah's tonight, I told him. Jaden nodded as if he'd expected it. Doc, are you going to fight for us? He asked. What do you mean? I asked. Are you going to let Dad take us away, or are you going to fight? I looked at the kid who had become my son in every way except biology. Jaden, I'm going to fight for you harder than anyone ever has. Is that a promise? The next morning, Victoria's empty space in the house felt like an open wound. I made breakfast for Jaden and myself, but neither of us could eat much. Doc Dave, Jaden said finally, when Mom and Dad were married before, were they happy? The question caught me off guard. What do you remember from that time? I asked. Not much. I was little, but I remember lots of yelling and Dad taking trips that lasted weeks. He looked up at me. Were you and Mom happy? Before all of this, I believed we were. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Or maybe Mom had gotten very good at pretending. After dropping Jaden at school, I made a decision that would have seemed unthinkable a week earlier. Instead of heading to the hospital, I drove to Richard's hotel. If I was going to fight for my family, I needed to know exactly who and what I was up against. The lobby was all marble and crystal. I approached the front desk with as much composure as I could muster. I'm Dr. Holland, I told the clerk. I need to leave a message for Richard Stone. Medical emergency concerning his son. Of course, doctor. Mr. Stone is in the presidential suite. Shall I call up? I'll go up myself. It's time sensitive. Richard opened the door wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. His smile faltered when he realized I wasn't hotel staff. You must be David, he said, offering his hand. I've heard a lot about you. I didn't take it. We need to talk. He stepped aside and ushered me into a suite bigger than some apartments, with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the Charlotte skyline. Nice setup for a business trip, I said. Actually, it's not temporary, he replied, pouring himself a scotch at 9 a.m. I'm relocating my operations to Charlotte permanently. The news hit me like a sledgehammer. Since when? I've been planning this move for months. Victoria knew. He watched my face. She didn't tell you? Months, he repeated. Victoria had known for months Richard was moving back. Why Charlotte? I asked. Better business opportunities. My family is here. His smile was carefully measured. David, I don't see you as the enemy, he said. You've done a fine job with Jaden, but things are changing. Private schools, travel, connections, advantages that open doors. He looked me squarely in the eye. I'm in a position to provide for Victoria in ways a hospital employee never could. The insult landed cleanly. So this is about money? I asked. It's about what's best for my family, he answered. Your family? You abandoned them 5 years ago. I made mistakes. I'm here to fix them. He stepped closer. David, I respect what you've done for my wife and son. But they were mine first, and they'll be mine again. His casual certainty made my blood boil. Does Victoria know you're talking to me? She knows exactly where things stand, he said. Didn't she explain when she came to see me last night? Last night, while I was tucking Jaden into bed, Victoria had been with Richard. I think we understand each other, he added. Then his tone softened. You're a decent man, David. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I stood up, fists tight. You're right about one thing, Richard. I am a decent man. Decent men don't give up without a fight. Richard's smile didn't change as I headed for the door. David, he called after me. Remember, this isn't really about you and me. It's about what's best for Jaden and the baby. I stopped cold. What about the baby? I demanded. Victoria hasn't told you? Maybe you should ask her about the timeline. His implication hit me like a freight train. I left the hotel in a daze, my mind cycling through dates and possibilities I didn't want to face. I called in sick to work and sat in my office staring at the calendar. Victoria had announced the pregnancy in July. If she was 8 weeks along, conception would fall in mid-May. But what if she'd been further along? My phone buzzed, a text from Victoria. We need to talk. Can you meet me for lunch? I stared at the message before replying. No. If you want to talk, come home to your family. Her reply was almost instant. David, please don't make this harder than it has to be. The exact words Richard had used. Around noon the school called. Jaden had been in a fight and needed to be picked up. When I arrived he had a split lip and a defiant look. What happened? I asked. 2 months later I sat in a Charlotte courtroom watching Richard's high-priced lawyer try to salvage a lost cause. Victoria sat beside him, a hollow version of the woman I'd married. The stolen money, the fabricated pregnancy timeline, and Jaden's testimony had destroyed Richard's hopes of custody. Your Honor, Richard's attorney argued. My client has a biological right to his son. Judge Harrison, a stern woman in her 60s, was unmoved. Biological connection doesn't automatically grant custody, especially when those rights were abandoned for 5 years. Jaden had been remarkable on the stand. At 12 he spoke with a maturity that impressed everyone. When asked his preference he was clear. I want to live with my dad, my real dad, Dr. Holland. The judge had also seen Tom Bradley's evidence. The calculated deception, the financial fraud, the manipulation of a child's emotions. It painted 2 adults willing to use a boy as a pawn. Mr. Stone, Judge Harrison said, you abandoned parental responsibility for 5 years. You cannot simply reclaim it when convenient. This court finds the best interests of the child are served by maintaining his current living arrangement with Dr. Holland. Richard's face went red. Your Honor, this is outrageous. He's my biological son. Mr. Stone, one more outburst and you will be held in contempt, the judge warned, voice icy. Dr. Holland has been this child's de facto father for 4 years. He has provided stability, support, and love. You provided genetic material. This court sees a clear distinction. The final ruling was everything I'd hoped for. Full custody to me, with Richard granted supervised visitation every other weekend conditioned on completing anger management. Victoria received similar visitation rights if she cooperated with the custody arrangement. As we left the courthouse, Jaden walked beside me, head held high. Doc Dave, he asked, can I legally change my name to Holland now? If that's what you want, absolutely, I answered. It's what I've wanted since I was 8, he admitted. Victoria caught up with us in the parking lot. Her pregnancy was visible now, and she looked worn out. David, she said quietly. I stopped but didn't turn. What is it, Victoria? I'm sorry for everything. I made terrible choices and I hurt the 2 people I loved most. Jaden looked at her, eyes full of sadness rather than anger. Mom, sorry doesn't fix what you broke. I know, but I never stopped loving you. Then you had a funny way of showing it, he replied. Victoria began to cry again. Can you ever forgive me? Jaden considered it. Maybe someday, but I'll never forget. And I'll never trust you like before. It was a mature answer from a child forced to grow up too fast. Victoria walked away toward Richard's BMW. Jaden looked up at me. Are you glad it's over? He asked. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad we know the truth. And I'm glad we're together. Me too, Dad. It was the first time he called me Dad in public, and it meant everything. 6 months after the custody hearing, Jaden and I had settled into a new life. The house felt different, lighter, like a dark cloud had lifted. We transformed Victoria's old office into a proper teenager's room with posters of his favorite basketball players and a desk for homework. The adoption papers had been finalized 3 weeks earlier. Jaden Holland was his legal name, and I was officially his father in every sense. The courthouse ceremony was small, just us, my parents, and my brother's family. But when the judge signed the papers, I felt a completeness I'd never known. Dad, Jaden asked one evening while we cleaned up after dinner. Do you ever miss Mom? It was a question he'd been building up to for months. I dried my hands and answered honestly. I miss the woman I thought she was. I miss the family I believed we were building. But I don't miss the lies or the uncertainty. Do you think she's happy with Richard? He asked. I hope she is. Your mom deserves happiness, even if she made terrible choices to get there. Victoria had given birth 2 months earlier. Richard sent a birth announcement. The baby's name was Charlotte, and in the photo she looked a lot like Victoria had when she was young. Will I ever have to see the baby? Jaden asked. Only if you want to. She's your half-sister. You get to decide what that relationship looks like. He nodded. Maybe when I'm older. Right now I just want things to stay as they are. Things did fall into a good rhythm. I cut back my hours at the hospital a bit to be more present for Jaden. We attended every basketball game, every school event, every parent-teacher conference together. Being a single father was hard work, but deeply rewarding. One evening on the porch swing, he turned to me. Dad, I want to tell you something, he said. What's that? When this started, when Mom first brought up Dad coming back, I was scared you'd give up on us. That you'd decide it was too much trouble to fight for someone who wasn't really your son. His words landed harder than I expected. Jaden, you were never not my son. Biology doesn't make a father. Being there does. I put my arm around him. You never have to worry about that again. You're stuck with me for life whether you like it or not. Jaden grinned. I can live with that. As we watched the sunset, I thought about how everything had shifted in less than a year. Victoria's betrayal had almost destroyed us, but it ultimately revealed what truly mattered. We'd been tested by fire and come through stronger. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom Bradley. Saw the adoption announcement in the paper. Congratulations, Dr. Holland. You too deserve all the happiness in the world. I showed it to Jaden. He smiled. He's right. We do deserve to be happy. Yes, we do. Later that night, tucking him into bed, a ritual we never stopped, he looked up at me with serious eyes. Dad, thank you for fighting for me. I didn't fight for you alone, I corrected gently. I fought with you. We're a team, remember? The best team ever. I turned off the light and closed the door, feeling something I hadn't known before. We'd been through hell and back and come out as something stronger. We were family, real family, and nothing would change that again. The future stretched ahead, full of possibilities and promise, and for the first time in over a year I was excited to see what came next.